The Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by our proud sponsors, Rams on Demand, Seat Giant, Throwback Joe, and now our new sponsor, Kayvon Webster's new LA food truck, Vibe 305, from South Beach to Sunset. Hashtag catch a vibe. For more information, check out vibe305.com today. Now enjoy the show.
Warner goes over the middle, juggles, caught. Oh, touchdown.
Sets up in trouble. Leonard Little forced to fumble on the turf.
Everett. Ball deep. Touchdown to Willie Anderson. And he doesn't even stop. He's headed for the locker room. The Rams win it.
To Marshall. Falk. Falk to the 20. Falk at the 10. He's going to score.
Ferragamo with a lot of time. Gets it to Ronnie. He's going to go for a touchdown. Phil Olsen, number 72. The first one don't get you, the other one will. Merlin kind of slowed him up back in the backfield. 10, Gabriel going deep for Maslowski. Touchdown. Here's the pitch to Dickerson outside to the left. He cuts it back into the end zone for the score. Adjusting for it is Isaac Bruce. And Isaac Bruce threads his way for a touchdown.
Steven Jackson in the end zone. Game over.
It is caught by Dyson. Can he get in? No, he cannot. Mike Jones made the tackle. And the Rams have won the Super Bowl.
Welcome back to another Throwback Thursday of the Downtown Rams podcast. I'm here with Irv Pankey, former Rams offensive tackle. How's it going, man?
Going good. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. I'm happy to have you on the show and get to know a little bit about you. So, Irv, what made you want to play football for a living? Just to start off, from the beginning here.
What made me want to play football? Well, nothing made me want to play football. Back then, Jay, was like when I went to college, I just wanted to get my degree. And, we had players before me, when I was a freshman and sophomore that, got drafted, but it wasn't like a big hoopla like it is today. And it wasn't really until my junior spring when scouts started talking to you and things like that, that, I saw it as possibly an option. But like I said, I was just really trying to get my paper, and to graduate. And the draft in 1980 was the first year that it was on ESPN. And, I went to the combine. It was in Dallas Stadium, and there was like 144 of us. And, there was 12 rounds back then. So, once I got drafted and, being in Pennsylvania in those cold mountains, and Los Angeles Rams called me up and said, how would you like to come play for us? Well, stay in the cold mountains or go to Orange County, kind of no-brainer.
I hear you there. And, before, I'm going to ask you a little bit about that draft experience, but before you even get into that, what was your reason for choosing to go to school at Penn State?
Well, it was Joe Paterno. It was funny when he recruited me in high school. He came to my town. I'm from a small town, and he came to my town, and they closed school for the day, and it was this big hoopla. But when he sat down with my parents, the first two things that he really talked about was that your son was going to get his degree, he was going to graduate, and get an opportunity to play big time football. And I went on my recruiting trip up there, and of the 13 guys that went up on my recruiting trip, all of us signed.
That is something. I mean, that just shows you. This is the second Penn State alum I've had on this show. I had Jimmy Kennedy, and he was also, he was pretty high on Joe Paterno as well, and he said he kept him out of some stuff. So, was going down the wrong path, and Joe really helped him out. So it seems like, I I know it's a Rams podcast, but Joe Paterno's getting some love with this. So,
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, real quick with that.
Yeah, of course.
He taught us. I don't think you'll find one player that has something bad to say about Joe as a man. You know what I mean? As a coach. So, like I said, I love the man. He helped. Like I said, he helped. He's helped me all the way through my career. I could always, call him if I had to wanted to talk to somebody, or, put him down as a reference for a job, whatever it might be. So he was a great man when I was at Penn State.
Yeah, no, he's. I I consider him legendary. I think it's pretty cool. Hearing the experience you had and the experience that Jimmy had with him. But moving into the draft, because you mentioned it was on ESPN. You were drafted in the second round of the 1980 NFL draft, and it was by the Los Angeles Rams. What was that process like?
The process, like I said, that was the first year it was on TV. So the process, like we have teams, they'd fly you in, do a physical, work you out after the combine. Teams that thought they might want to draft you. But the funny thing with the Rams was I never heard from them, never even talked to them, because I thought I was going to New England had 2 picks in the first round. And I thought they said, we're going to pick you our second pick in the first round. So, the draft started, and I remember the Jets took Johnny Lamb Jones, and all the DBs went off the table. And, so after they got past 24, I just said, oh, well, okay, that didn't happen. So I went back to bed because it started like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm asleep, and the phone rings, and it was John Mass from the Rams. Said, "This is John Mass from the Rams." Said, "Irv, how would you like to come play for the Los Angeles Rams?" "Oh, I'm coming," without a doubt. So, like I said, the process was a lot of work between, graduating. From playing my senior year, getting ready. We didn't get ready to go to the combine, like they do today. You just kept training and lifting weights and staying in shape. But like I said, it was a good time. It was a worrisome time because you don't really know when you're going unless you're the first or second pick. But like I said, it was a good experience for me.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's pretty cool because your journey into the NFL. You're a second-round pick. The Rams just drafted Joseph Noboom out of TCU in the third round, and he's their top pick in this draft since they didn't have a pick in the first or second. I think it's funny because you yourself, you came in the league and you actually sat behind Doug France, who was I think he was a 5-year starter for the Rams, and he was, a veteran starter when you got there, and now Noboom's coming into the league. And he's going to be sitting behind Andrew Whitworth. Now, obviously, I haven't really spoken with Joseph Noboom since the Senior Bowl, so I'm not in touch with him and everything. But if you could, basically say anything, in that regard of what he's going through, I feel like, you had the experience sitting behind somebody like France, and then, the next year starting. What is it like to be behind a veteran, and how much does it really help to sit your first year?
I don't know if it helps to sit. They just came off a Super Bowl, so it wasn't like they were going to change anything. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Bubba didn't leave. This is, in all hindsight, I did start a couple of games my rookie year because Bubba was hurt one time and Jackie was hurt one game, and I got an opportunity to start. Doug did a great job with me because I was like a sponge. I'm always asking questions, and the defensive guys like Jack Youngblood and Freddie Dryer and those kind of guys would, when you do something wrong, they're the first ones to tell you, you can't do that because this is what I'm going to do. But Doug France spent a lot of time, luckily I got the room, when we were at Cal State Fullerton, there was like 4 of us in, like they have the the apartments today on campus where you got a common room, and you got like 3 or 4 bedrooms. So I got the room with him in training camp my rookie year. So, you know, what he did, I did, you know. I mean, he was very studious and adamant about his job. And so if you have to sit, it's good to get your feet wet. You know, like I said, I was under fire early because I did get to start a couple games. But, you know, it's a different pace. It's a different game. I think kids today come better prepared because it is such big money and you want to be able to show out as much as you can when you first get there. I was playing left tackle on the right-handed stance because in college we had a strong side, weak side. So, you know what I mean? You did everything from the right-handed stance if you were right-handed. So that gave me a year to basically retrain my body to go into a left-handed stance and learn from him and Jackie Slater, you know, how to play the game. So I would give that young man coming in, you know, Whitworth he's a great old tackle, great left tackle, and just learn. You know, be humble. You know, don't think you know it all, or you know what I mean. Because when your time comes, you got to be ready to go.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's pretty cool. You know, it was one of those cool things where, you know, obviously, you know, when I reached out to you to interview, I'd never really thought about that parallel until, you know, really just recently, because, you know, normally. Yeah. I mean, the Rams haven't really drafted too many guys, you know, recently that high at the tackle position. So, you know, it's cool that he's going to be coming in and he's going to go through kind of the same thing as you. Hopefully, he'll have the, you know, the longevity with the Rams like you did, and be a bookend guy like you were. With that being said, you know, you played in 150 games, and the Rams were, I believe it was 144 of them were with the Rams. With that being said, you probably have some pretty crazy stories. You know, what are some of your favorite stories about being in the NFL?
My favorite stories, let me see. Well, we were playing St. Louis Cardinals one day, and it was like 115, 120 on the field. And it was the fourth quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, and we had the ball. The offense had the ball 11 minutes out of 15 minutes in the fourth quarter. And it was hot. I mean, because they had that old AstroTurf that like was a heat spot. It's worse than the new turf grass that they have today. And you know, we're going back and forth and grinding and grinding. And it's hot and we're sweating and it was funny because, you know, we get down to like the 5-yard line and we're like all 5 of us was exhausted. And we're like, if we don't score now, we're all going to just quit, you know? And so we're on the plane, and all 5 of us got IVs in our arms. But it was one of those things where, you know, because generally, you know, as the longer you play, you learn how to draw energy from the guy next to you, you know? But none of us had no energy to give to anybody, you know, just like, so that was one of the great times. And also, you know, breaking the record, rushing OJ's record with Eric Dickerson. I would probably say that was probably one of the grandest ones that I remember, collectively as an offensive line, collectively as a player, you know, going out and putting up 250 yards on Houston to win, for him to break that record. That was a great day.
Without a doubt. And, you know, it's funny because I look at this offensive line, and I think, I mean, it's got to be one of the best in the history of the game. I mean, I maybe you would disagree with me. I don't know why you would, but I just, you know, I look at, you know, you had yourself, you had Tom Newberry, you had Dennis Hara, you had, you know, Doug Smith, and obviously Jackie Slater. I mean, where would you rank that all time? You know, I mean, I'm sure you've watched plenty of offensive line play since you played, you know, that position. Are you guys up there with the best?
I would rank us in the top 5 in my mind.
Because I mean, that's where I have you easily.
I look at it, you know. Okay, we won the rushing title with Eric 3 out of 5 years. You know, Eric left, even though it was a strike year. I mean, Eric left. We won it with Greg Bell. We run it with Charlie White